I shouldn't be teaching you this. And if I'm being honest, part of me hesitated before writing a single word. Not because the ideas are complicated, but because once you truly understand them, you can't unsee them. There are truths that don't shout, truths that don't announce themselves with drama or warning signs. They slip quietly into your mind, rearrange the furniture, and suddenly the world feels colder, clearer, and far more honest than it did before. This is one of those moments. So, if you're still listening, if you haven't clicked away yet, understand this first. What you're about to hear was never meant for everyone. It was meant for those who are tired of being confused, tired of wondering why good intentions keep leading to bad outcomes, tired of playing fair in a world that quietly rewards something else entirely. There is a strange comfort in believing that life is simple, that people mean what they say, that power belongs to those who deserve it, and that morality alone is enough to protect you. It's comforting because it allows you to sleep at night. It lets you believe that if you work hard, stay honest, and treat others well, things will eventually work out. And sometimes they do. But sometimes, and far more often than we like to admit, they don't. Not because you failed, not because you lacked talent or effort, but because you misunderstood the game you were playing. You thought you were living in a world governed by ideals, while others understood it was governed by perception, fear, and advantage. Centuries ago, a man looked at this contradiction and refused to look away. He didn't write to inspire you. He didn't write to comfort you. He wrote as a warning about how power actually works once you strip away the stories we tell ourselves. And the most unsettling part isn't that his observations still apply today, it's that they apply almost perfectly. The names have changed. The settings look modern. The tools are digital now, but human nature hasn't evolved nearly as much as we pretend it has. The same desires, the same insecurities, the same hunger for control quietly shape decisions behind closed doors, in boardrooms, in politics, in relationships, and even in the small moments you don't think matter. Here is the uncomfortable truth most people never say out loud. People are not moved by truth alone. They are moved by what they believe is true, by what they fear might be true, and by what makes them feel safe in the moment. This is where so many well-meaning people lose their footing. They assume clarity wins arguments. They assume honesty earns loyalty. They assume kindness guarantees respect. But respect is not a moral reward. It is a psychological response. It emerges when people feel a certain combination of admiration, fear, and uncertainty. Too much warmth without strength invites disregard. Too much strength without warmth invites rebellion. Navigating that tension is where power actually lives. Machiavelli didn't invent cruelty, manipulation, or ambition. He simply described them without flinching. He noticed that leaders who tried to be good all the time often fell faster than those who understood when goodness became a liability. He saw that people praise virtue loudly but reward effectiveness quietly. And perhaps his most dangerous insight was this: appearances matter more than reality, because most people never look closely enough to tell the difference. They judge with their emotions first and their logic later, if at all. They want to feel protected, guided, and reassured, even if the reassurance itself is an illusion. This is why the warning matters. Because once you see this pattern, you start noticing it everywhere. You see it in the manager who speaks about teamwork but rewards obedience. You see it in the public figure who talks about integrity while carefully managing their image. You see it in friendships where generosity is mistaken for weakness, and boundaries are only respected once they are enforced. And you may even see it in yourself, in the moments when you chose silence over truth or strategy over sincerity, because on some instinctive level you knew what was required to survive. What Machiavelli understood, and what still unsettles people today, is that morality and power operate on different axes. They can overlap, but they are not the same thing. A moral action does not automatically lead to a powerful outcome. and a powerful action is not always moral. This doesn't mean you should abandon your values. It means you must understand the cost of holding them in a world that does not always share them. Naivety is not virtue. It is vulnerability disguised as goodness. There is a quiet cruelty in pretending otherwise. We teach children to be honest without teaching them how honesty is received. We encourage kindness without explaining how kindness can be exploited. We celebrate transparency without acknowledging that those who reveal everything often lose. Leverage. Then we act surprised when people who followed these lessons feel betrayed by reality. Machiavelli would argue that this betrayal is not the world's fault, but ours, for refusing to prepare people for how things actually work. One of his most misunderstood ideas is the relationship between fear and love. People often quote him as if he advocated cruelty, as if he believed fear should replace compassion entirely. That's not what he observed. He noticed that love is fragile. It depends on goodwill, memory, and mood. Fear, on the other hand, is stable. It doesn't require affection, only consequence. When people know there is a cost to crossing you, their behavior changes in ways affection alone rarely produces. The warning here is subtle but profound. If you rely solely on being liked, you place your stability in the hands of other people's feelings, and feelings are unreliable. Think about how often respect only appears after boundaries are enforced. How often your time is valued only after you stop being endlessly available. How often your voice is heard only after you demonstrate that ignoring it has consequences. This isn't because people are evil. It's because humans are adaptive. They respond to incentives, not ideals. Machiavelli didn't condemn this. He simply described it. There is a loneliness that comes with understanding this. Once you see the mechanics beneath the surface, you may feel more distant from people, more cautious with your words, more deliberate in your actions. You might hesitate before offering trust, before revealing intentions, before showing vulnerability. This isn't cynicism, it's awareness. And awareness always carries a cost. You lose some innocence, but you gain clarity. You stop expecting the world to reward you for being good, and you start designing your behavior to protect yourself while remaining true to what matters most to you. That balance is where wisdom lives. Machiavelli's warning was never, be ruthless. It was, don't be blind. Understand when mercy strengthens your position and when it undermines it. Understand that consistency creates predictability, and predictability can be exploited. Understand that people often judge outcomes, not intentions, and will rewrite your story after the fact to justify how they treated you. If you succeed, they praise your methods. If you fail, they condemn them. The same action can be labeled virtuous or immoral, depending entirely on its result. This is why so many people feel disillusioned as they grow older. They realize the rules they followed were incomplete. They weren't lied to outright, but they were given a simplified version of reality, one that works only in controlled environments. The real world is not a classroom. It is a shifting landscape of incentives, perceptions, and power dynamics. Those who refuse to acknowledge this often become bitter, not because they were wrong to believe in goodness, but because they believed goodness alone was enough. Machiavelli would tell you that the most dangerous position is not being evil, but being visibly virtuous without the strength to defend it. Such people attract enemies and lack the tools to survive them. They become symbols rather than actors, praised in theory and sacrificed in practice. History is full of them. So are workplaces, so are relationships, so are lives quietly derailed by misplaced trust. If this feels uncomfortable, that's the point. This knowledge isn't meant to soothe you. It's meant to sharpen you, to make you pause before assuming fairness, to make you think before revealing everything, to help you understand that being strategic is not the same as being immoral. Strategy is simply the art of surviving reality without losing yourself in the process. And here's the part most people miss. Understanding power does not force you to use it destructively, it gives you a choice. Ignorance removes that choice. When you don't understand how influence works, you are always reacting, always surprised, always vulnerable. When you do understand it, you can decide when to be firm, when to be generous, when to step back, and when to act decisively. You stop being a passive character in someone else's story and become an author of your own. So yes, I shouldn't be teaching you this. Because once you understand it, you may find it harder to tolerate empty promises, shallow moralizing, and systems that pretend to be fair while quietly rewarding something else. You may become quieter, more observant, less eager to explain yourself. You may start measuring people not by what they say, but by what they consistently do when something is at stake. And that is Machiavelli's real warning. Not that the world is cruel, but that it is indifferent. It doesn't care about your intentions, only your outcomes. It doesn't protect the honest by default or punish the manipulative automatically. It responds to structure, leverage, and perception. Once you accept that, you can stop feeling betrayed by reality and start engaging with it on honest terms. This knowledge won't make you happier in a shallow way. It won't give you comforting illusions, but it can give you something far more valuable: stability. The kind that comes from knowing where you stand, understanding the terrain, and choosing your actions with eyes wide open. And if you're still here, still listening, then maybe you were ready to hear this all along.